right, and we are live. All righty.
Hello, everyone.
All right. My name is Joshua. For Angels of Ether, we are here with our fantastic art director Sasha, and we are here with Mark, our game developer. We're gonna be doing an AMA. We're gonna be talking about the cinematic production of the teaser trailer, some of the world building and the environments within this teaser trailer. But first and foremost, we want to show everyone that is listening live in our Discord and also who will be watching this in our YouTube. One more time, we're going to go ahead and play the incredible environment teaser trailer for everyone. So please enjoy. I'm not sure if the sound is going to come through, but as long as everybody sees it.
You can switch to window. 1 second. Uh, 1 second. Oh, no, it doesn't let me. I can't share my screen. Can you change that for me?
What would you like me to change?
I am not allowed to share my screen.
Okay. I mean, you should be able to. You have all the permissions. Let me see.
It says you can't share a stream into this channel for whatever reason.
Okay, go ahead and try now.
Trying. It works. Screen. This time I use the application. Is the audio coming through now? Checking.
Yes, it is.
Perfect.
I don't think you. Okay, there it is. We got it. We got it. Beautiful, beautiful. I love that trailer. You guys did such an absolutely amazing job with it. Very exciting. Yep. So that was it. Sorry for the little technical stuff in the beginning, but we got it figured out real quick. So I was really happy to show everyone that one more time. If you're watching on our YouTube, it's right there on our YouTube channel. You can see it in the beautiful 4K right there on our YouTube channel. And then also, if you're listening to us live here in Discord, we have the link in our announcements. Go to our announcements channel. If you haven't seen the trailer yet, we've got the YouTube link right there to watch it, and it's incredible 4K. So now, next, moving on. Again, we have our fantastic art director here, Sacha. He's gonna just talk to us a little bit about what he does for the Angels of Ether project for the world that's being built, and he also going to go into the cinematic production of this incredible teaser trailer and what he did to bring this trailer to life, to bring this world to life. So go ahead and take it away, Sasha.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Sasha, obviously, um, Thank you for having me back. The art director of our team. Um, Together today, we will lead a little bit through cinematic production. Me from the artistic side, and from the tech side, our head of Unreal development, Marc Rogerson. Good friend and very, very smart guy, bringing life into what in the art that we create. So, short. So, without further ado, let's talk a little bit about cinematic production. Traditionally, I would either work in 3ds Max or any other tool that we had in the studio. Earlier this year, I switched to Blender, including into that pipeline also Octane. Traditionally, the downside of producing like that very often was that you get a glimpse of insight into what your shot may or may not look like. Octane is close to real time as in terms of preview, but the difference still is the pre-rendered material that you will get out. This is, for example, the wing intro that we have in the beginning of our trailer openers. So this effectively is the wing of one of our angels. However, in this case, you can see it's a very limited scene because the whole idea here was to create the macro shot. Macro shot meaning you're very close to the object, you're having a very shallow depth of field, and this is one of the cinematic tools to create focus and create order into composition is to blur out what is not in the focus. So pre-rendered sequences, they usually have beautiful, high-quality result, bringing all the technicalities like, you know, typical render passes with them that can that is just the materials, but also on top of that, things like motion blur, depth of field, as I mentioned before, then all the different effect passes, all of that usually, especially global illumination, made a massive difference in how realistic a material was depicted. While Unreal brings a whole different set of abilities to the table, being real time, instead of very often just guessing what I'm doing, it is now a lot easier in Unreal. Let me switch over to get. Can you see the difference in how much you see, as in terms of fog, as in terms of how good the light looks straight out of the box, and it's fully real time. So the difference between pre-rendered scenes and very often just render segments, single frames, see if the composition holds up, if the light is okay, if all materials render properly. Let me just plug in one of the cams. Oh dear. Yeah, okay. So everything in here effectively is in real time. We are in Unreal 5 now, which allows for a much higher poly count as well. So as in terms of wireframes, before that, you were limited to a certain level of detail, which was already relatively high, but you often would then bake geometry as in normal maps and so forth. With the new generation of technology, we have Lumen, which is a real-time global illumination, meaning light coming in from the main light source, bouncing off that, and then bringing colors of the surrounding in the next bounce where it jumps to the next object, picking up colors and making it look physically correct. So if we would switch, for example, to wireframe, we can see how dense the whole world actually is. So these are some of the vegetation, then some of the foreground objects, and with nanite, that's the next technology. I'm gonna go back into lit. Uh, we are able to create a lot more complex scenes, and obviously many of the assets that we used prior to that have a lower LOD. Gradually we will replace them, so the whole game world has a detail level that actually is next generation. With that said, let's take apart the scene a little. This is one of the side shots that I used as an introduction into the main shot. We have several little elements here that includes, for example, this little doe here. I'm gonna unhook the camera for a second. So as you can see, I can freely move around in the scene, and then we have this little fawn here. There's several ways you can bring animated objects in here. In this case, this is a little sequence that you can basically then arrange on the timeline, and you can see I can basically then plug it in and make transitions and bring it together, much like I would, for example, do in normal nonlinear editing software as well. The difference here is I also directly can affect the light. So, for example, when I want to have control over a parameter, I literally can drag in components from our scene that might be cameras, that might be post-processing volumes, which come with a large amount of settings that allow me to directly control via keyframes, the whole settings that in this case, for example, even just the directional light here can go in and change the rotation, and they have direct control over in here in my scene. So you can see it's real time, it's fully interactive, and I can just add a new keyframe here for that as an example. So all of this is a very different approach and workflow, makes it very fun. It's also still in its early days, so it's not to say that everything worked out of the box as intended. But yeah, Lumen is amazing once it's properly set up. The light is fantastic to work in such an environment, having it actually being real time and in such a high quality, which comes relatively close to a pre-rendered result once it's fully set up. So with real-time GI and pre-rendered quality being this close available, and being able to interact with the environment in real time, dressing things up, changing things around, building levels in real time when I'm not happy with something, just add a few more trees here and there. It's opens so many creative possibilities for just the cinematic creation process by itself. You can see here's the other way of animations, in this case a particle system. There were several things that I had to learn in that time as well, to how to make them start and work properly, and also interact with the camera as intended. Having on that, let's dive into this shot. In the next camera, one moment.
I just wanted to say really quick as you pull up the next camera, I love how you can free roam through it.
Yeah,
Seeing
it's
everything that goes into the making of the cinematography of the trailer, while also moving around the world that's already built. It looks incredible. I love seeing the behind the scenes of it, and I didn't know that you can actually free roam with that camera and look at everything that has been built, and then create your shots accordingly. That's that's
exactly.
amazing.
So this ability also grants you a lot of freedom to create additional shots, explore options, and you also may have noticed that I have more than one camera in this scene, for example, trying to have a coherent storytelling that leads from a detail shot over showing the beautiful riverside and then coming full circle to the bridge and the little phone here. To have the fully animated sequence completed. So this is just one of the many locations. I prepared plenty of shots and tried to go with a simple concept. In this case, the sunrise over our beautiful environment. For those wondering, yes, the environment has a daytime system, for example. Can change and manipulate sun height or generally angle or day of time as well. Um, we have everything is fully interactive and real time. That means I already could theoretically place an angel in here and run around with her, but we'll get to that much later. Not much later, but we're working on more regarding angel characters. So, with that said, I'm gonna switch the scene quickly and uh, hook in the camera, maybe. Second. Okay. So, this also, as you can see, is in another part of the world. Um, this is the gate we initially designed. And opens the Grand Plaza before the Royal Palace behind her and behind it. And I'm a bit confused right now whether or not. Yes, we have static flying birds here because that's how it is. But unhook that, flying up. So, these are, for example, a bird system that we developed or that Marc developed for one of our modules. I modified the system slightly so it's scalable, and you can see also this, even though they currently don't move cinematic wise like in on the timeline, even now when they flap their wings, their motion blur is actually calculated in real time. So this is the bird system, and Marc is going to elaborate a little bit on how the bird system came to life. And last but not least, to give you a little idea about the scale of what we built thus far, um, everything is full 3D. Everything that we are currently building or that might be in the next module that we will show is fully playable built. We will continue to refine and optimize, but besides of just the cinematic itself, I wanted to give you a little insight into how much we built already, and obviously there's much more to come.
Yeah, this is absolutely incredible. Everybody who's watching, you guys are getting a full scale look at, what's been built so far by Sasha and the team. As you can see, it is absolutely incredible. It's blowing me away right now, myself. I love the structures, everything just incredibly detailed. So you guys are getting a massive treat right now, seeing, a much larger scale of what has been built within the world. So Sasha, thanks for showing everybody that's here live in the voice chat. Everyone that's going to watch this on YouTube, nice behind the scenes look at what's been built. The scale of it, the grandness, I guess you could say, of the world, and just the beautiful architecture as well. So this is incredible. With this is a perfect leading up to our fantastic game developer, Mark, who had a part in this teaser trailer, which he'll go ahead and talk about, but also what it's like building an Unreal 5. He is a world builder. That's part of one of the main things that he's doing for us on this team, and his experiences with what it takes to build out a world within Unreal Engine. So many of us, I'm a gamer myself. We see games in its finished state. And most of us, won't really know the amount of hard work and effort and time and blood and sweat that went into building such an incredible world. We see the finished project when really it's those game developers that have been working for a long time and making it come to life. So, Mark, I'd love to introduce you now. Tell us a little bit about what you do, your experience, and then again what it's like building out this world in Unreal 5.
Okay, cool. Oh, getting some feedback there.
I'll mute my
Uh,
mic, see if that solves it. One moment. Uh,
okay, let's try again.
I can hear you loud and clear, buddy.
All right. Well, I'm Mark. I'm 46 years old. I've been a game developer for 12 years full time. It's kind of hard to compress 22 years of how I got to this stage, but I'll try give it a go. So, when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a game developer from the days of the Atari 2600 and the Sinclair Spectrum. But growing up, I wasn't really very useful in school. So I never believed I had the potential to be a game developer. And back in the 1980s, it was a whole different ball game. The way games were created was very much more complex than it is today. Because none of the systems that we have to use today were built. You had to build them from scratch. So it required um, a very heavy specialization in programming and mathematics to be able to do so. So I didn't feel I had the confidence. So I left school and I became a musician and I played around in bands for a while. And I was playing with a guy who was a virtuoso guitarist and I felt like I was holding him back. So I made the decision to leave the band and go to college to learn computers full time. So I learned networking and radio technology and systems analysis and things like this that go with a college course. And in the course, it included some programming with Visual Basic and Java. So I worked at max capacity, did the best I could do, grinded every single day, never missed a lesson, never messed around. And I started to learn more about programming and getting the confidence that I could actually be a programmer. So I passed my course and I was working as a network engineer at the college and in learning support, helping other people learn computers at the same time. And I started to focus more on web development, thinking that it's a good time to get into web development in the late 90s, early 2000s, which it was. So I learned HTML, PHP, JavaScript, CSS, and this really pushed my programming forward quite a lot. I moved into Macromedia Flash at the time, which turned into Adobe Flash, because I preferred to make non-standard websites that had a heavy look with the animation, and eventually started making applications with ActionScript, both ActionScript 2 and ActionScript 3. Um, Eventually, Flash was sidelined and it was on its way out, and I knew this. So I started looking into where I could take my web development from there, which was search engine optimization. But I didn't really like it because you learn a few things and then it's just rinse and repeat. And that's not me. I prefer to be learning things constantly, new things every day. It was at that time when Unreal Tournament 3 came out from Epic Games, and that came with a level editor. So I started to mess around with that and learned a few things. And then I looked at other engines, including Crytek and Havoc's Project Anarchy engine, which was essentially made for mobile games, but you could make PC games with it too. And then right after that, Epic released the Unreal Development Kit, which was a game changer for the industry because this brought people who were new to game development straight in with professional tools that they could create professional games with. And it was at this point I decided I'm going to quit web development because there's nothing left for me to learn. So this was a new way for me to expand my skill sets on a daily basis because you can never learn everything with game development. Generally, people specialize. So somebody recommended me to a game development team who was working on a game for the Make Something Unreal competition. And this game was called The Haunted Hell's Reach. And it was an action horror game, very fast paced, very gory. And I thought, oh, I'd love to work on this. So I started working on Scaleform, which was the Adobe Flash based user interface for game engines, not just Unreal Engine, but it worked on Crytek and various other engines. And I did some user interface work for that, and that went on to win that competition and got the boss of the company a $500,000 license for the full Unreal Engine 3, which was amazing. So I got to look into some of the source code for Unreal Engine and start learning a bit more about Unreal Script, which was their proprietary API at the time. From there, I started to learn as much as I could about Unreal Engine. I fell in love with it and decided this was going to be my life from now on. And in 2014, Unreal Engine 4 released, and I met up with an old friend from school who just got into it as well, and he was an artist that did spaceships and space scenes, and asked me if I wanted to work on his game. So he was working on an Unreal Engine 3 game at the time. I helped him finish all the user interface stuff from that, and then he moved on to Unreal Engine 4, where we made a VR space shooter in the 90s style, akin to games like Freelancer. And we spent about 3 years on that, just short of 3 years before it released. And I was quite happy with that. That was kind of cool. But I decided I wanted to make my own thing. So I went on and decided to freelance. I started helping out in the community a lot. I've never really stopped helping out in the community because I love seeing people come up in the game development world. And it's basically made me generalized in all kinds of areas with Unreal Engine. So I've learned a bit about everything. I generally focus on gameplay programming. That's my specialization. But I've gone through everything from animation to particle systems, a bit of audio. Uh, I program engine plugins to extend the editor to have new functionality. I implement SDKs so I can take code from 20, 30 years ago if I need to and make it work in Unreal Engine if it's got some kind of use case, which essentially leads me to where I am today after freelancing and helping out with little things for different people here and there, keep moving around, never stop in one place. I was working on my own game and I had a bit of a burnout because when you do this every single day for 12, 16 hours a day, you can kind of burn out on it. But it's kind of a fun burnout. But when you burn out, you can't do what you love to do. So I took some time off and decided to learn Blender and focus more on some artwork and 3D modeling, which helped me greatly to create assets that I wanted to use in the engine if I needed to. And as I was coming out of this period of burnout, I was working with another company than this one and wasn't really happy with what they were doing. And then I got introduced to Sacha, who told me about this project, and it sounded like something that I wanted to make. So I was on board straight away. I was like, yeah, I want to do this. So, which leads me to where we are now. I know that was a bit of a long story, and I'm sorry if I bored you, but 22 years is a long time to cover. But it does show you that somebody like myself, who never believed in himself, can get to a position where I am now a professional game developer using what I consider the best tool in the world and the most fun tool in the world, which is Unreal Engine, working with some great artists and developers on this team. And if you're ever interested in getting into game development, now is a wonderful time with Unreal Engine 5 being released because all the tools are there for you to learn, and all you have to do is put the time in, and that time isn't effort, that time is fun. So if you want to do it, jump in now. And that's about it. That's where I am now. So hope you enjoyed that little story or long story.
No, our community definitely did, Mark. I'm getting some messages from some of our fantastic community members and supporters saying that it's not boring at all. They love it. They love hearing the story of your experience and how you got to where you are, and even a little bit of advice of telling them, hey, get in now if you're thinking about it. So they love it, man. We appreciate your story. Absolutely.
I absolutely love the story too, and I just would like to add, even if you're just a student, you don't have a production money, but you're willing to do the work. Blender, for example, which I showed before, uh, comes including Octane completely for free in a simpler version where you only have one GPU to render, but that is usually enough to get started, learn the tool. Then you can make assets with it if it comes to texturing as well. Substance certainly is the main tool, but there's even Quixel Mixer, which is really capable as well, completely for free. You bring your assets into Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine is completely for free. Not only is it a great tool for independent filmmakers, I want to emphasize that highly professional production crews work with the same tool, and there's virtual production right now possible in Unreal Engine. I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with Baby Yoda and,
Everybody knows Baby
Mandalorian.
Yoda.
Obviously, the whole environments were shot in Unreal. So you understand the magnitude of the tools that you get to work with. You get the same tools like ILM or some of the bigger houses that currently are using it for virtual production to work with completely for free. It's
It's
an amazing time to be alive, and you can literally create the biggest imaginable games with the new world partition system, which I will give back word to Mark about in a second. Creating open world, massive worlds in Unreal, which was one of the reasons why CD Projekt Red switched to this engine, which is obviously known for making The Witcher, for example. So the next Witcher title is going to be built in Unreal 2. It's an amazing tool, and it literally is at your hand. All you need to do is dive in, download the tool, work yourself through a few tutorials, and then bring in your own ideas of your own game or movie, and you can do that with literally almost no budget at all. Just if you have the ambition and the will to learn it.
just to add that if you are interested in becoming a digital director, so to speak, in virtual production, this is a dawning industry, and it's only really been birthed a couple of years ago. And Epic Games are pioneering some of the new technology, which is why Hollywood is adopting it, because it's saving thousands and thousands of hours and millions of dollars for companies to do this. So if you want to learn it, it doesn't take too long. There's plenty of information out there for you to learn how to do it. And there are plenty of jobs for people who know how to do it. And you get to work with some great technology in some great industries in Hollywood.
Mhm. So this is this is the dawn of a new era for me, where the tools, the professional tools, are available for the public, for everyone. Whoever was like, yeah, the game sucks, I know how to make a game better. All these people now could. Usually, that's not the guys who do the hard work, though, but yes, everyone, literally everyone who has the will and the ideas now has these tools available. Such a massive change in how production tools are available to us compared to just 10 years ago.
Yeah, what's available now is incredible. And I actually didn't know myself. I love CD Project Red with The Witcher. I didn't know that they're actually building their next. I know the next game's coming, or however many years it takes. But them building an Unreal Engine is gonna, man, just break some boundaries. Expand some limits. So that's exciting, and it's exciting just to know that we're using the game engine to build out our world. And Mark, you being a big part of that as well.
Mm,
How has it been building out, or how assisting to build
sorry.
out this world within Unreal 5?
Mm,
Well, I have to put the majority of the credit down to the artists because although the technology is something that does have to be handled, it's the art that people see, and the majority of people will never see the underlying technology behind it. But it's very interesting because we started with Unreal Engine 4, and Unreal Engine 4 has some limitations in terms of massive open world building. Although it can do it, it was called a system, the system was called World Composition. And there was a limitation with Unreal Engine 4 in that it used 32-bit floating point precision, which, if anybody doesn't know, when you're calculating values with floating points or floats, which, for example, would be like 1.0125, that the floating point being the numbers after the decimal point. Unreal Engine 4 would only calculate values to 6 decimal places, which limited things when you got to large scales. So in Unreal Engine 4, the maximum value of kilometer distance within a level was 21 kilometers. And once you got past the halfway point of that, roughly around the 11-kilometer stage, you would lose accuracy on your floating point calculations, which meant you had to do a lot of workarounds in order to get things to work at distance. Now, there was a system in Unreal Engine 4 called the World Origin, where there would be an offset from the world origin. So once you got to say 11 kilometers, you would add, you would start calculating with a world origin offset, which alleviated some of the issues, but it introduced more problems. So it was always complicated to work around what you was trying to do. In multiplayer scenarios, this created a magnitude of problems uh, that we had to solve. And it could be solved, but generally the amount of work that you had to do increased the amount of time that you would work on a project by magnitudes itself, which essentially costs a lot more money because you're paying for people to work on this. So
mm,
Epic realized this problem, and after some consideration, which Epic normally takes years to consider things because they do it right, they created a new system called World Partition. Now, this is one of the major reasons we moved to Unreal Engine 5, but amongst other reasons, such as we now have Lumen Global Illumination and ray tracing and a plethora of other technology advances that just seemed perfect for a huge open world MMO system. So, more about world partition. This system, where previously in world composition, we would create one outer persistent level, and that would contain many sublevels. And these sublevels would have a visibility state. So as you was going through your large open world, you would reach the end of one of your sublevels, you would hit a trigger, and it would load in another sublevel. And this would continue to chain itself, and then it would calculate this world position offset from the origin. Obviously, it was tedious, like I say. So in world partition, we have something amazing. And this is the system itself takes one huge level. We've got rid of persistent levels and sublevels now. We have one level, and the system breaks that level into cells. And these cells can be dynamically loaded and unloaded at will. It can be based on what the player sees, it can be based on the distance that the cell is from the player. So essentially, we have a dynamically loading system as you go. Now, something that's interesting about it is in a multiplayer environment, you would expect that it has to load an entire level because there's people all over the level, but this isn't the case with world partition. What we can do is only load a certain amount of cells around active players. So if you imagine a level, but there's somebody in the top left, the top right, bottom left, and the bottom right, it would only load the cells around that, and the entire center of the map would be unloaded, saving performance at the server level and the rendering level on the client. Something else that is amazing about this system is its LOD system, which is the level of detail. When you look into the distance, excuse me, I just had to clear my throat, sorry.
Mm,
When you look into the distance, you don't want to be loading all your high resolution assets. So we have a level of detail system, and depending on the size of the object in screen space, we can switch out a model for a lower resolution or a lower polygon model, or we can switch it out for a sprite that just has an animation, or we can switch it out for a nanite mesh.
mm,
And a nanite mesh has performance gains. So what we can do is, if we're stood looking out over, say, a kilometer distance, but at a kilometer distance, we don't want the mountains in the distance to be the full high-res mountains. What the world partition system can do is take that LOD system and judge the distance and take all the high-res assets and create one nanite mesh of all those assets, and it will have this same performance gain as if we switched it out for a sprite system.
mm,
Except we get to keep the quality, the material quality, the lighting effects, the shadowing effects, and it all looks as if it was the high res models before. So when we're building the system now, we don't have to worry about creating 5 or 6 different models for LOD systems for each model in the level, which is a hell of a lot of work. Now we can just tell the system when it's a kilometer distance out, everything beyond there, I want you to convert it into a nanite mesh.
mm,
And as you move forward through the level, and break hit the breakpoints of the level of detail settings, it will rebuild those nanite meshes to be appropriate. This saves thousands of hours long term, uh, and it's a dynamic system, so we don't have to worry too much. We set it up and it works its magic itself. And this is the reason why a lot of the AAA companies now are dumping their own engines, like CD Projekt Red, in favor of Unreal Engine because they have changed the game in terms of open world. They have created currently the greatest technology for open world game engines that we have.
Mm.
There's nothing that even compares to it. Um, I'm sure Unity users will
Not
cry
yet, I
foul.
think, but they may try to come up with something similar over time. For now, I
Perhaps,
appreciate the freedom that we can also go with bigger, more complex meshes. Nanite manages that for us, and we can have huge scenes and massive distance of what is being seen, and we are able to still have a good performance, even though it has a complexity and much less baking is needed, which is also, storing the high resolution look on a lower resolution mesh. In many cases, simply isn't even needed anymore. It's good enough when you have a medium dense mesh with all the details and it will run smooth as it is in its full quality.
yeah. I just wanted to mention as well that when I spoke earlier that the maximum level size was 21 kilometers in Unreal Engine 4, we have moved to a 64-bit floating point system now. And to understand the difference that this makes from 32-bit, where we had a 21 kilometer max world size previously, we now have an 88 million kilometer max world size now. So that
That's
is
insane.
an insane world size. Consider that the Earth is roughly 40,000 kilometers in circumference.
Mm.
Wow.
Think of, you can imagine the scale. It's
You can build
galactic.
universes, you can build galaxies with that.
No,
Yeah.
when I create the first quest, I make sure you have to go find a frying pan somewhere across the map, and you have to walk just to appreciate the size of the world.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. I mean, like you said, Mark, Unreal Engine 5 has absolutely changed the game, and it makes me excited for what can be built within, of course, our own world that we're building right now. And so, of course, switching to it changes everything. So definitely excited to see more. In the future, you have been absolutely incredible for the entire team, for the project, for Angels of Ether. Sacha, art director, you've been, of course, amazing. And I love everything that you've shown our community here in Discord and what we'll be seeing in YouTube once I upload this later, of just the grand scale of the environments, and then getting that more background about Unreal Engine 5 from Mark to know how large we can go. The potential is pretty much limitless. So very excited for the future. And so with that, I want to move over to some of the questions we have from our community. So let me go and pull those up. We'll get some answers for you guys. We got those questions that you submitted, so we do have some answers for you. So let me go and pull that up right now. I'll get those asked to our team members here. Okay. So one of the first questions I have here, it's going to be for you, Mark. Okay, first question is going to be, in the teaser, we can see the environment under different lighting conditions. Now, are you planning the environment with day and night cycles? I think Sasha already kind of answered this maybe a little bit earlier, but we can let you go a little bit more in depth. So in the environment have day and night cycles that could affect some elements of the world. That, for example, this community member put gathering and obtaining rare items, NPCs accessing new places at certain times, etc. So, are you planning for the environment to have day and night cycles, and will that basically affect the world in a certain way?
Well, we have the technology built in for day-night cycles. Essentially, it's already there that Sasha showed earlier when he moved the sun around.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a vector location of the sun, so we can move that over time to create this effect. And the new lighting system essentially does this without having to do any of the pseudo dynamic lighting that would previously be done in Unreal Engine 4, where you would have part of your environment was baked, but it would be affected by a dynamic light as well. It never quite looked right, but with Lumen and global illumination, it looks just right, down to the mood setting from the moon, if you want to implement a moon as well. Um, I'm not sure if we would make certain areas only available at specific times of the day, but it could be possible that, for example, some dungeon was only available at night time, like it only opened at night time or something like that, or
Mhm.
certain creatures would come out when it's night time or things like that. It's definitely possible. It's all still in planning, but um, there's no reason we can't do this. All the
Mhm.
technologies are.
Awesome, awesome. I was thinking that too. I was like, it's definitely. I'm pretty sure it's something that could be planned for the future, but we'll just have to wait and see. But it does again make the potential grand on what we can do. But I love the day night cycle. Sasha, thanks for showing it. As Mark was talking, so we do
You're
have it. It
welcome.
is in the world, and what that could mean for certain game mechanics in the future. We'll have to wait and see once it's developed. So next question we have here. Again, I'm coming to you, Mark, with this question. So it's gonna say, oh, it looks like I copy pasted the same question twice. I'm sorry.
No
let me
problem.
let me go to the second question really quick. Sorry guys, just give me a quick second. I'm gonna pull up that second question. Mark will be able to answer for you.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, so second question, pretty simple here. Can we expect weather effects, fog, rain, wind, storm? So is there a weather system within the world, or could it be
There's
developed in the future?
there's partially a weather system in at the moment, but one thing we've got to consider with weather effects is the performance cost.
Mm,
Because we have a dynamic real-time global illumination system at the moment, and it's quite heavy, and we don't want to tax the lower spec users too badly because obviously frame rate is everything in games. So we have to make sure the limit is fair for those people and not just throw effects on because we know it'll look nice on a 24 core CPU with a 4090 Ti or something crazy, right?
mhm,
Um, with that being said, when an area can afford to have these effects enabled, we could certainly add them in specific areas such as different maps or certain quests.
mm,
We could focus design to include the performance hit of volumetric fog or particle system based storms or layered material puddles with ray tracing or screen space reflections and physics based wind with, I don't know, tornadoes or anything like that. This is all possible, but it'd have to be a case by case basis and it'd require performance testing on various specifications so that we weren't taxing these lower end users too much, or maybe having some kind of replacement effect for those people so that they felt like they were in the same environment as the high end users, but it wasn't so bad for their system, really. So it's all possible.
mm.
Awesome, awesome.
So
Sasha, you want to
yeah,
elaborate on that a little bit too?
weather certainly will play a role in what we do, but as Mark said, it might be zone specific or even mechanic specific. I don't want to go into detail at the moment, but there's more playable content planned. Part of it will lead through the world. This is all I can say at this moment. And obviously, with all the different zones and mechanics planned, there will be plenty of opportunity to also encounter different types of environments, and obviously adventures in a vast and lived-in world.
Amazing.
Yes, weather and mood is gonna be part of it.
Awesome, awesome, man. Just seeing just the simple, sunrise, sunset you have here, that was part of the trailer. I myself am looking forward to seeing different weather effects as well. I think that's a great question from one of our community members is about the weather. Even you, Mark, you said, even a tornado is possible. And it started to get me thinking, when's the last time I've seen a tornado in a game or in an open world? It's not really common. So just knowing that those possibilities are out there is pretty amazing. And seeing this world just with simple rain, storm, lightning, is I'm pretty sure gets all of our imaginations running. From me and our holders, our community. So it's great to know. Of course, that's something that is probably going to come in the future and be region specific. Just so much, can be done within this vast world that I know myself and all of our community members are very excited for. So, in this next question, I've got here for Sasha. So the question asks, I see some variety in the buildings. Of course, we've all seen the architecture and the structures here within the teaser trailer, and even Sasha, as you've been kind of roaming around the world, showing more of what's been built. The buildings are incredibly unique, and we're getting comments from our members live right now saying like, my gosh, is the art absolutely incredible, and they agree with Mark. It all starts with the artists. So, continuing the question, see some variety in these buildings with the roofs, which are fantastic. But this got me thinking. This is what our member's saying. Got him thinking. Are you planning to have interiors for every building? How can you answer that for him, Sasha?
Largely, largely meaning obviously the buildings should fulfill a purpose that may be included as a shop or may be included as a part of the storylines. When you're questing, you get certain buildings that will be for everyone, that might be auction house and so forth, travel hubs, just overall we may not create 100% of the buildings, but probably a fairly large amount that you can explore that all have interiors. I'm not going to go into all of the housing things that we planned, but there's things in work. And obviously, yes. If the building is relevant to the story or relevant to the game mechanics, they will have interiors. They will be fully designed through by us, and we will make sure that each and every one uh, logically, functionally makes sense, but also looks gorgeous and stylistically matches the rest of the world that we're building. I hope that answers it.
I think that answers it perfectly. And it makes perfect sense. I'm pretty sure for all the gamers here in our community, any game you play, you can't walk into every building, even though there are some buildings we wish we could walk into. So it makes sense. 90%, 95%, 85% of the buildings, are going to be going to have interiors. So that's, in my opinion, that's really exciting because I think that's a very large number. Where there are some games that are classified as fantastic games, but maybe only 50% of the buildings are actually accessible, maybe even less. So knowing that the team's going to work to have a lot of these buildings have a lot of purposes, right? Like you said, a lot of purpose that makes sense logically, and that it will be designed in something you'll be able to enter into. Uh, that's awesome, especially with these buildings being as unique as they are. And so I'm excited to see all the different interactions and purposes we'll have for these buildings. So I think that answers it perfectly. It definitely again gets me more excited for what's to come in the future. Now we did have some other questions as well from our members that I would love to acknowledge. We appreciate everyone that did submit questions into our Discord channel. And some of these questions it is a little early to answer into detail. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of read off just a couple of these questions, just to again give it acknowledgement and to give you an answer that I received from the team members as well. One of the first questions is, how will our angel and guardian pairs be represented in the game and or in the environments? Next question is, we already saw rotated angel models, and we saw those 3D angel models that we posted on Twitter. Beautiful, kind of a preview of what's being developed and what's going to be your playable character in the game. But when can you expect to see some animations of angels and guardians inside this world? Right now we're seeing the world. We're seeing the the I can't even think of the word, fawns, deer, butterflies, birds. Right, we're seeing that life. We're seeing that come to life a bit. But of course, one of the questions is when we'll be able to see angels, right, in our guardians in the world. So just to acknowledge those questions, it is early in development, it is early in planning, but I did talk to the team. So for those of for you guys who asked these questions, here's basically the answers. We're still early in development and in planning in terms of character creation and character creation tools and animations. So we're not able to answer in detail at the time, but the team is currently working on other parts of the world and project, which I've mentioned before, that will be accessible in the near future for our community. So something is coming. Okay. Um, so for character animations, tools, props, traits, etc., it is planned, but will come later down the road as it is developed over time. So, as Sasha's showing right now, here's the incredible world. In terms of that character creation, animation, seeing the characters here in this world that you're seeing right now, that is going to take some time to build and develop. So, it is planned, but it will come later, and we'll release more details about it as we get closer to that point. But we do have something that's being worked on now that our community, you guys will be able to access in the near future. So it's definitely exciting. Okay. And just look forward to that. We do have something coming. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. Um, thank you everyone who was able to stay here in our AMA. For anyone that maybe joined for a little bit to listen in and then had to go to work, back to work or something, or leave the bathroom from your work break, then we appreciate you guys hanging out with us and listening to our art director Sasha and our game developer Mark on their stories and what they've been working on and their experiences. So we hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you again for asking those questions so we can answer some of those questions for you. We hope you enjoyed the incredible behind the scenes look of this world that is built. It's something I myself actually haven't even seen yet. So I'm seeing it for the first time with you guys of the grand scale of what Sasha, the art team and the game team have been doing. It's just magnificent. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. Sasha or Mark, do you guys have anything last you just like to say before we close it?
Well, thanks for having us, and thanks for being an amazing community. And I'm very, very happy and proud of what we thus far achieved. We're still in the early days. There's much more to come, and I'm looking forward to make this, the most beautiful world that we possibly can, and create something amazing for our community.
I have to say that just going back to that tornado point,
Mhm.
that if we did have a tornado, there's a system in place called chaos destruction, and
Yes, yes.
we could have it destroy any part of the world. I'm not saying we will. I'm just saying that it's possible that this entire world could be destructible if we wanted it to be.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It can literally smash meteors into the physical landscape and have those meteors react in real time and create the destruction correspondingly. There's Unreal 5 came with so many great new tools, and yeah, we're looking forward to create hopefully great entertainment with it, storytelling wise, looks wise, an immersive lived in world. Yeah, we hope you will enjoy what we come up with. We will keep sharing our steps. We will keep introducing our team as well in the AMAs, and hopefully, yeah, be working with you on creating this beautiful game world.
Awesome, awesome. Apocalyptic event. Meteors crashing into the world of Age of
Yes,
Ether. Oh
yes,
my
don't
gosh.
come.
We'll see.
No, no
Maybe it'll
promises.
Yes,
create different regions
yes,
and environments. You never know. But it's great to know, Mark. That is possible. So again, as I've said, as I know you've said, the potential is limitless. The possibilities, the opportunities are all there. So much that we'll be able to possibly do in the future. So again, perfect way to end it, Sasha. I'm excited to see what you guys continue to build. We will try and keep everyone updated as much as possible as we have content to show. So we do have more coming. We appreciate everybody being here, and we're going to go ahead and close it now. So, goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming. Sasha and Mark, you guys are awesome. Always love talking with you guys.
Thank you.
thank you. Likewise, thanks for having us.
All right, have a great day, everybody.